Hey folks, in today's episode, we unbox Endeavor, Age of Sail. Stick around.
You're listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
Thanks for sticking around. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
We're the Beans and Dice podcast about how we game. Let's get going, Rob.
Yeah, we can jump into this.
It's a nice one you like.
Yeah, this is Endeavor, Age of Sail.
Is English not also your first language?
That's my first language. Bird Island Games and Grand Gamers Guild. And this is a game, as you know, I discovered online. I started seeing it pop up in a lot of people's top 10 lists all of a sudden about maybe 6 months ago, a year ago. And I didn't know anything about it. And so I started thinking, wow, I need to see what this game is about. I saw that it was naval, and I was like, whoa, this has probably got to be little ships and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, ship.
Yeah, so I was like, this has got to be a pretty game, probably some minis and stuff in it.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I was excited because I thought Age of Sail like pirates and
Exactly.
stuff.
That's immediately what I thought. But boy, little did I know, we were looking at a...
Then you showed me what it was, and I said, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm out.
So, we discovered it was a Euro, a light to medium weight Euro, and that's right up my alley. So
I said, no, Rob, you can have that.
Yeah, so yeah, you weren't too into it, but I played over at Your Turn Cafe in Tampa.
Oh, wait, your turn?
Yeah, your turn. Your turn. Oh, there you go.
Your turn?
Got the T-shirt.
Oh, I look like a blueberry.
He's been there, done that. So we played it over there, and Dan, the owner, has the Kickstarter version with all the nice plastic bits.
Yes.
And so I played it, I think, 3 different times now over there, and I fell in love with the game. And so then I had to make the decision. There were people selling some of the Kickstarter version for marked up prices all over online. And I decided to finally go ahead and just buy the retail, because I was able to buy 2 games, this plus another game that I picked up. I picked up the Networks. But no difference in the gameplay between this and the Kickstarter version. No difference really in the content. The only real difference is the Kickstarter had some nice plastic bits, where this is all going to be wooden and cardboard. So
I don't think you made a bad decision.
yeah, it's all the same gameplay.
So this is the retail version.
Yeah, so this is going to be the retail version, not the non-Kickstarter version. So we got the rule book. There are 2 rule books here. There is the main rule book for just how to play the game, and then there's a separate rule book for what they call the exploits. And I have not played yet with any of the exploits in the game, but the exploits are basically some little mini expansions that they throw in that you can add on to the main game if you choose to.
Well, because this is a remake of an original game, right? There was a game that was before this, and this is kind of like a revamping of it.
Yep.
With the addition of the exploits built into the retail box set.
Right.
That gives you additional victory points in certain ways.
Yeah, some different ways to play. So it adds the exploits, different little kind of abilities that you can get by exploring different areas. There's some keys you put out on the map at the beginning, and if you go and claim an area with a key, then it allows you to start doing one of these things with some of these extra special abilities. So it really, again, just is the same basic game. It just adds some extra abilities and some extra things you can do. But we've got the main game rule book here. Let me see how many pages long it is. This game really isn't really heavy on the rules. It's 12 pages.
No, it's not.
But the 12 pages includes, there's a 2-player variant because the game plays 1 to 4. I'm sorry, 1 to 5 actually. It's 1 to 5.
2 to 5.
Or
Normally 2 to 5.
Sorry, 2 to 5. So 2 to 5. There's
60 to 90 minutes.
Yep. The 2-player variant is you do have to alter the game a little bit for 2 players, so it's really meant for 3, 4, or 5. I would say I've played it at 3. I've played it at 4. I haven't played it at 5 yet in the 3 playthroughs that I've done. But we've got actually the first 10 pages will just go through the different phases of the game. There are 5 phases. And then they talk about the end of round cleanup, but it just kind of goes through all the different possibilities you can have. You can see here, it's well illustrated. They've got nice color photos of examples of...
Yeah, it's not big blocks of text in the rule book. So you're talking 10 pages of rules with not a lot of text, a lot of illustration. So it's not a very difficult game to pick up on how to play.
See page 2 and 3 here is just the components list. So it just shows you a real nice list of all the components in the game. Page 1 just tells you the objective of the game and some of the terminology that they use. So the rules really is page 4 is setup, and you start with the gameplay on page 5, and then you go through, final in-game scoring is page 11. So not a whole lot of rules. And I found that when I played the game, that once I played a couple of turns, I kind of knew all of the what was going on in the game. So once you just play a couple turns, it's ready to go. One of the real nice things here is the game trays. This was one of the first games actually that came out with a lot of the game trays. built into the game, but you're going to have tiles in here. One of the neat things is, and I'll go play with them later. We're going to do a playthrough of the game. But these game trays here, you're going to have tiles that sit on top of here. But I don't know if you can pick up real well that they are indented along the edges here. So once the tiles get in there, when you need one, all you do is you push down the stack of tiles, and you can push on any of the 4 edges, and the whole section will lift out.
That was something I found out on accident.
Yeah, you push down, it lifts out, and you just grab the stack, and you can take the stack out. So it's really cool.
Now, when Rob says game Trayz, he means game, G-A-M-E, Trayz, T-R-A-Y-Z. That's a brand name.
Yep.
So Game Trayz, the company, produced these game trays, these trays for the game.
They make these inserts. They work with a lot of game companies just to make these formed mold inserts to hold different components and things inside games. So here you've got, these are the 5 different players, the player colors. You'll have, each one of them has their own game tray insert here as well. And you'll see there's a place in here, you can have there, that you're going to be able, there you go. You can have the 4, in this version you're going to have 4 cubes. In the Kickstarter version they were plastic bits that kind of fit in these 4 areas here. There's a big tray here that you're going to have some of your starting cubes in, your starting pieces. And in the middle is for one of the expansions. There's some additional stuff there. So
again, beautifully formed, vacuum formed trays. They look gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we get into all the bits here. We've got a lot of cardboard. There's going to be a lot of cutouts here. We've got, there you go ahead and take a look at. So here's a lot of your chits that you're going to be placing out on the board. They're little circular pieces of cardboard. The cardboard here that we're looking at, if I don't know how well we can get that on there, here you go. It's pretty thick cardboard. It's not.
It's about standard.
Yeah, probably standard.
Standard cardboard, chipboard.
Yeah, it's not real skinny, but it's not real heavy. I've definitely seen heavier cardboard.
And sometimes you'll see the cardboard where it is not as thick, but it's dense, and this is not that. So this is not very dense.
Yeah.
And it's also not very thick. So, but it's very serviceable. It's no negatives to it, but nothing super exciting about its quality.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to get them wet or anything.
I mean, even the linen finish on this is very slight. It's not.
Yeah, it's not really much of a linen.
It's good.
Yeah, but it's better than low quality, I would say for sure. But
yes.
Again, these are definitely nothing I would want to get wet. These would I would see come apart pretty easy. Pretty quickly when they're wet, but they do punch out nice. They come out pretty clean.
I always love how you bring up the ability to wet a token.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, why would we ever let them get wet?
Do it? Yeah. Well,
it happens.
That's the difference between the Kickstarter version. The Kickstarter, all of these tokens are actually wooden. So they're little wooden circles.
With silk printing on it.
Right.
So they actually print the token onto the wood disc.
All the buildings, even in the Kickstarter version, though, are this cardboard, the same quality cardboard. So this has the same quality cardboard that the.
I did find that the player boards themselves and the scoring boards are, or the round markers are very thin.
Yeah.
So nothing super standard or great about these stand out about these, in my opinion. Sure. But good.
Yeah, they're good quality. Yeah, they're not. The
artwork is gorgeous. It invokes the Age of Sail, 1800s, 1700s feel to it.
Yeah.
1600s.
I would agree. Yeah, it's got kind of that little bit of that rustic look, the older look to it. So you got 5 player boards here for the game.
Were they that big originally?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe these are the same as the Kickstarter.
That's pretty big. I forgot that was pretty.
They're pretty big boards. You're going to play cards that you collect here. You're going to build your buildings across the middle section.
That's right.
And then the 4 tracks here that you're going to be pushing cubes along. So good cube pusher. Carlos always loves his cube pushers.
Cubes.
Yeah,
that's what I meant. The round marker, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it is just a piece of like cardstock.
Yeah, this was just a player aid here. This just shows you what is in each of the governor decks for each of the areas, the continents that you can take over. So that's something I actually have never really used in the game. We've always kind of thrown that to the side.
I guess it was near me when we played because I was the newer guy.
Oh, okay.
To the table.
We may have done that, thrown it over to your area. So we've got the board.
Now the board is nice.
Yeah, the board is pretty nice.
Let's zoom out for that.
Well, it's not huge, which is one of the things, again, I think I like about the game. There are 2 sides to the board. There's one side.
But if you consider the player boards, the board can't be huge.
Yeah.
If the board was huge with the size of those, 11 by 14 player boards over there?
It would take up too much space here. So this is just a trifold, or a quadfold, I guess. So there's just the player board just as comparison. If I can get more of that in the shot there. There we go. So the player board, versus the board.
So you're still going to need some space on the table.
Yep. Each
Don't let this board size fool you.
Going to have one of their own player boards. This is the 4 to 5 player side of the map. So this is definitely 5 players. You have to play on this side. The other side is 2, 3, or 4. So you can play 4 players on one side or the other. This one is a little tighter. There's fewer spaces to go. So if you play with 4 on this side, this is a more battle-heavy, more controversial side of the board. If you play on the 4-5 side and play with 4 players, you have a little more space on this side to spread out and to focus more on the economy part of it and not as much as the battling part of it. But
nice matte finish on this board. This board I do like.
Yeah, I do like it. It's not overly shiny.
Areas are easy to define, so it's almost abstracted in a sense.
Yeah.
So you got this European area where we start off, and then all these areas, as you can see, they're almost like maps laying on top of maps.
Yep.
So it's really easy to identify what areas belong to what.
Yep.
As you begin getting influence on the governor tracks for each of these areas, and then once you have enough influence on here, it opens up the area itself to be able to connect the sailing routes.
Yep. So we've got like Africa, South America, we've got the Caribbean, there's Far East, India, and North America. But everybody's going to start out in Europe, and then as you put influence into the outside areas, you start opening them up to be able to go and start doing your economy or do your battling in those outside areas.
I think good job with the board to give you spaces and make it easy to identify what each one is for.
Yep, absolutely. Let's see here. So we've got these wooden pieces, just from looking at it. I believe this is pretty much all part of the exploits, which are going to be the expansions, which here...
now that's a thick chit board.
Yeah, we can open this up here. Yeah, these exploits actually are printed on a lot thicker cardboard, which is interesting. That is more like the game board thickness to that, so that's pretty good thick on these exploits. So these are the expansions that you can add on. And let me just look how many there are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And even when you're playing with the expansions, the exploits, you add, I believe it's 2 of these at a time to any particular game. So there's a lot of variability once you start playing, or expandability to the game once you start playing with these exploits, because by choosing 2 of the 15, you can either pick your favorites or you can do them randomly, pick them out of here. But each one of these gives different kind of abilities that to the person who claims them in the game, and will change up the way you play the base game. So this, again, adds a lot of variability, a lot of expandability.
And this is the big part about second edition Endeavor, which is what this is. Second edition
Right.
is the exploits is what changes a lot.
Yep. And these tokens, I believe, are all part of the exploits. So I have not actually played any of the exploits yet, as I believe I said, but these are wooden, all wooden pieces here.
Yeah, with printing on them.
Yeah, they're printed. Actually, the printing looks pretty decent on those. We can pour a few out here, but they're not particularly heavy, thick wooden pieces. They're pretty light. I don't know if that's balsa wood or what it is, but they are printed on there. There you go. Take a look at them. There's a church there. These are the fortifications for the cities. But yeah, some of them are printed, some of them are just plain, depending on what the piece is. And then there's a few cubes in here, but again, I believe all these cubes go as the exploits go.
And these are the discs for when you take control of an area.
Yeah, those are your workers, basically, your dock workers, your discs that go on the board to show possession of areas on the board as you play.
And they just come in the 5 different colors for each player.
Yep.
So nothing too special here, but other than just wooden disc.
And that also is in the Kickstarter version. Those are all the same. Those are the same discs you get in the Kickstarter version for your players.
The only difference is the Kickstarter version provides these in a brown, but they also silk print them with the pictures on them, so they replace the cardboard tokens.
Yeah, these round cardboard tokens here. Those in the Kickstarter version are these same wooden discs, and
just printed on them.
Screen printed on, yeah. So that's one of the big differences with the Kickstarter. Got the score pad there, so that's your in-game scoring. They give you a nice, healthy amount of the in-game scoring sheets. And then just the cards. We'll move those over. Yeah, this is just the deck of cards for that you get as you play through and control the different areas on the board.
I'm gonna lose a finger.
Yeah, I hope not.
Right here on camera. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, we'll get that on camera if we're going to do it, though. Yeah.
If we are going to do it, let's do it on camera.
Let's do it right.
We might get some views and maybe some subscribers.
Yeah.
Message.
See some blood? Yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe. All right, so these are the different governor cards
for the different regions. Like that's Africa there that you've got. So there's a series of cards for Africa, a series for the Caribbean. So each of the different areas that you can take possession or control of on the board, you're going to get these cards.
And what they're going to do is provide icons, and these icons allow you to increase and decrease your tracks on your player board. Those tracks will indicate what you receive each round, depending on during the round phase. These are the slavery cards.
Yep.
So these cards is a very very different way that they approach slavery in this game, because they didn't ignore it and choose not to call. They didn't do like Puerto Rico where they call them workers.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
They're not workers.
No, right?
They're workers of a different kind.
In this game, they called them out for what they did beautifully in this game, and this is more of a review piece. But if you choose to use these slavery cards, you're going to get more benefit than you would on the regular cards. But in the event that other players abolish slavery, so guys who are abolishing slavery happens, you actually get major penalties for having those cards.
Right.
So I think it's a very unique way of doing it, and I think it's a very accurate way of doing it.
Yeah, very thematic, and it was it's a game mechanic. It added a whole new mechanic to the game that one person can bulk up on slaves and they can get better advantages as they go along. But then if somebody burns through that, and there's another deck, the Europe deck. If they burn through to the last card of the European deck, the very last card,
which we'll show you here on the Zoom. So if we get to the last card of the European deck,
it says slavery abolished. And so if anybody gets down to that card, anybody who had a slave card loses all the advantages that they got from the slavery cards, and then they take negative points for each slavery card that they had. So. It's risky to use the slaves, and so just a real neat new game mechanic that they were able to throw in.
Right, as myself as an Afro-Puerto Rican, having a lot of the African side of my family, it just stands out to me way better than the way they did it in the game Puerto Rico, where they chose to call us workers, and we weren't workers. It wasn't. We didn't get paid. This calls it out for what it was, and then punishes you for doing it.
Yeah,
I like that.
And the very last thing in the box here, there you go, is the nice first player token that they include. It's the crown, I guess maybe the European crown. Get the refocus there. But this is the nice resin plastic piece that they threw in to this version. It's the same that comes in the Kickstarter version. The Kickstarter version, again, has some of the pieces were placed with those wooden discs instead of the cardboard. And then they've got a couple of the things from the expansions, from the exploits, cannons and things that in here are just cubes and wooden pieces. There's keys in here. Those are all plastic pieces in the Kickstarter version. So some of this is replaced with plastic. But
I just don't feel the need to get that expanded Kickstarter version. I really feel this game's components on its own are very strong. And that additional, $50, $60?
Yeah, it's about $50,
to get the Kickstarter version. To me, it just didn't stand out as a requirement. When you asked my opinion on making your decision on which one to get, I know that I was quick to say this is going to provide you all the content,
all the same content
that's in the game without the wooden cubes, and you save 50-60% of the price.
I was able to buy a second game when I bought this. So
I think it's worth it.
Instead of buying the one, I bought two, and I definitely think so. And then the other thing is I've seen online people are selling just the Kickstarter exclusive plastic bits, and so if I decide to go buy that, I can spend $50 or $60 and go pick all that up if I need it later. So.
Well, that's the unboxing of Endeavor Age of Sail, which is the second edition. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
Please be sure to like and subscribe. We thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Be safe, everyone.
Have fun. Keep gaming.
Bye.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
We are a little extra space over here. There's you can not sit so close.
He was leaning in for the hug.
Yeah.